in the generals. Nearly every ball is a funeral. And when we batting, brother, go and put your men on the boundary line. And if you give we a liquor, that is merely a hiccup. Look, you win the little battle, you lose the war. It's the same result every time. Everybody sing. Here come the West Indies. Here come the West Indies. Them rude boys gonna get you by degrees. Here come the West Indies. I tell you now, here come the West Indies. Here come the West Indies. Them bad boys gonna bring you to your knees. Here come the West Indies. Special request to the Trinity posse. And what about the Guyana posse? And what about the Jamaica posse?
There's just one run on the board. Malcolm Marshall is the bowler, and your commentator is Ian Chappell. With him is Tony Cozier.
And that's out. Lloyd has taken the catch at first step, and Australia have lost the wicket in the first over with Dyson Court-Lloyd, bowled by Marshall without scoring. Australia are 1 for 1.
Just a question of when Ghana will let go with the short one, and what Wood will do about it. Lloyd, great catch, and well bowled by Ghana. He put that man out there at square. Wood wasn't sure if the short one was going to come. Got the one roundabout off stump, cutting away, and that was a brilliant catch by Clive Lloyd, who's now taken 2 to dismiss the 2 Australians.
Survival's the main aim now for the Australian batsmen. Start again tomorrow. Vessels has been very watchful. Played very well indeed for his 13 runs. He's hit the half volley and placed that well.
That's a good shot, but well caught. Beautifully caught in the gully there by Michael Holding. And that was pretty well hit. Kepler Vessels would be considered a bit unlucky. Hit that right off the middle of the bat. But the tall man in the gully, Michael Holding, just dragging that catch in. Michael Holding is actually racing off the ground. May have injured himself.
Oh, he's hit that way down there. Will he get it? He's got it. Yes, he has. That's the end of Kim Hughes. Well, there was a bouncer. Hit in the air, down to the deep fine leg man. And what a good catch that was.
That was badly played. They set him up. They kept him on the back foot. He's been out hooking this summer on numerous occasions. They didn't need a bodyline fielder. They needed one fieldsman. A beautifully judged catch. It was well struck, but what a fine piece of bowling. And congratulations to Clive Lloyd. Tremendous placement. That it was over the middle and off stump. He couldn't control that. He whipped it fine. And Marshall took a superbly judged catch. It was going like a ball at his back. He's keeping his eyes on it. He's up. It's a mark. And the Australian captain departs. And Australia in real trouble at 4 for 40. But what a fine piece of cricket. Beautifully bowled over the middle and off stump. The hook shot was on. And what a great catch. Not much time. Judged to perfection. 2 hands, 2 fingers strapped. And Marshall really in this test match. And Australia in a lot of trouble.
Michael Holding. Yell at the batsman. Brilliant bit of fielding by Holding. Hit the stumps too. My goodness, the West Indies are really on screen this morning. Magnificent bit of fielding. And that's out. Caught by Greenwich. At full slip, Australia 5 for 46.
And great captaincy by Clive Lloyd, taking the man away from silly mid-off, putting him into the 4th slip position, and an instant success. Michael Holding coming up into the breeze, short delivery, a tentative shot from Graham Yelp, a bad shot. Just rode it into the gully, and probably the simplest catch that we've seen in this Australian innings.
It's Michael Holding moving in off his long run here.
Appeal for a catch, he's gone. Catch down the leg side by Dujon, well taken. And Border is out for 15, and Australia are 6 for 55.
And that's the prize wicket of Alan Border going to Michael Holding. A sensational spell this by Michael Holding. 3 wickets this morning, a good catch by Jeffrey Dujon, showing his versatility. 100 yesterday, good keeping that. They're not easy to take down the leg side. Border just getting his bat outside the line of his pads, flicking at it, and an excellent catch. Not such a good delivery from Michael Holding, but one that's produced a wicket for the West Indies.
Once again, the outswing of beating Lawson, although that wasn't such a good shot from Jeffrey.
It is an extremely good delivery because the ball's always moving away from the batsman. The bowler has two chances, one of bowling the batsman or getting an edge and having a catch go to slip.
And there's the edge, and that's exactly what the bowler is attempting to do. On that occasion, he didn't hit the stumps, just got the edge, and all very simple for Jeffrey Dujon.
Well, that was it perfectly, except the ball didn't go to slip. There wasn't enough deflection there. It just went straight into the safe hands of Jeffrey Dujon. So Malcolm Marshall has struck, bowling the outswinger from halfway along the crease, still getting enough movement to make it move away, and Dujon doing the rest after the thin edge. So 10 for 63, possibly staring down the barrel at their lowest score against West Indies and Australia. That stands at 82 at the moment in Adelaide, 1951-52.
Oh, and he's just allowed that one to crash into the stumps. Amazing piece of batting. I don't think Michael Holding can believe his luck. He's taken 213 wickets in Test cricket. That's probably the easiest one ever.
It was an attempted yaw leg stump, and the Hog saw it coming towards him, backed away, hidden full toss on the pad, went from, I would say, at least 2 feet outside the leg stump onto the off stump.
Oh, and well, he might be quite happy. He's certainly quite happy to go. He hasn't waited for the umpire to give him out. And Michael Holding is now on a hat-trick.
Cricket bowler for once, receiving some of his own medicine. And Rackerman there, embarrassed a little bit by that short rising ball into the ribs, flinching, moving away to the leg side, not getting inside the line of the ball, offering a tentative bat. Out first ball.
Clive Lloyd has the first one again. Not a very good shot there from Kepler Vessels. He's gone. Joe Garner, despite no ball, has snapped up the first wicket.
Marshall again, Dyson, the wee batsman.
Oh, he's gone. Dragged that one back onto the stumps. Malcolm Marshall generating just a little bit of extra pace there. That surprised Dyson, I think, Frank, and that inside edge back onto the stumps.
A tragic end, though, a tragic end to that partnership between these two batsmen. Dyson, a little unfortunate, expecting that ball to come in a little bit and getting an underneath edge and putting it onto his off stump. Look at Dyson's bat, though. It really is out of the perpendicular, isn't he? He didn't play straight at all, that. He chased it wide of the off stump and pulled it right the way back. So Marshall strikes. And the first wicket is down for the second wicket is down for 94.
It's the edge, and beautifully caught by Richie Richardson, I think. Yes, the umpire has acknowledged that the catch has been taken, and Courtney Walsh has his first wicket in Test cricket. A brilliant catch by Richie Richardson at third slip.
Marshall to Alan Border.
Well, that's a good delivery, and well taken by Desmond Haynes on this occasion. That really was a brilliant delivery. A nasty one, and Alan Border had absolutely no hope of getting out of the way of that one.
Walsh to Yallop. And there's another one. Graham Yallop has gone. Close infielder Desmond Haynes, and Courtney Walsh has two.
And that, unfortunately for Graham Yallop, was badly played. He was well inside the line. That delivery, it wasn't all that short, it wasn't all that quick. He just fended it away. We see the line is just outside the line. The off stump, it was across. His bat wasn't straight, it was nearly horizontal. And it was a good, smart catch by Haynes, and Graham Yallop disappears with Australia, reeling at.
Oh, good evening and welcome to West Indies Cricket 101, or we yarn how we yearn for those days back in the 70s and the 80s. We ruled the cricket world, ruled the cricket world. According to David Rudder, we ruled the cricket world. The longest any team ruled any team sport in the history of humankind. Understand that. We in the Caribbean, we did that. The poorest cricketing nation, dominating the world, changed the sport forever. Our cricketers had a consciousness of what they meant to us as Caribbean people. I think that made the biggest difference. I look around today, I see some cricketers as good as the cricketers back then. Some of them bowl as fast as the fast bowlers back then. Every now and again, we see some catching that equals the catching back then. That's another story for another day, because I think it's part of our dominance that we don't always talk about. The close to the wicket catching. I mean, great fast bowlers, in fact, great bowlers, period, but especially fast bowlers, are never, ever going to be great without great slippers, great slip catchers, and of course, short leg and so on, as we saw there. But here we are, looking back at those days when we ruled the cricket world. How much things have changed, how much things have changed. Good evening and welcome to Politics. Here we go, Politics 101. West Indies Cricket 101. There's some politics there, according to CLR James, because it goes beyond the boundary. Tonight, we're going to be talking about West Indies cricket. We have to continue to believe. We have to continue to believe that we could at least get close to where we were. This past week, we saw the Caribbean Premier League in action. For those of us Guyanese who are supporting the Amazon Warriors, good news, they won 2 out of 2 this week. Of course, Mr. Hetmeyer gave his fans and, of course, his detractors too, because some of us who maybe in the column of detractors are not there because we don't like him. It's because we become frustrated, you know. But he came good this week. 91, and of course he just faced about 3 balls last night, but it was enough for him to thump one down the ground and to say a little bit of play there between him and Mr. Joseph Alzari, and thumping Alzari over mid wicket, and I think we've seen some interesting T20 cricket this morning. Oh my God, I so feel for the Patriots. Another one into the last over and losing. But we're going to be talking about all of that. The West Indies announced its new selection policy, and I think they attempted to explain what that policy will look like for those who are not as bright as I am. I'm still struggling to figure it out. But we have 2 ex-cricketers here tonight who can't say they're like me. they can't figure it out. They will have to figure it out for us. Dr. Adams and Mr. Alfred Mentor, His Lordship, the Mayor of Georgetown, who a lot of people may not realize, a former cricketer. And he was opening batsman among other roles. But he's here in his capacity as a cricket analyst. And Butcher is going to join us shortly. But we want to spend some time talking about the new selection. No, it can't be selection policy. Come on, David. You can't wrong talk like that. It's not a new selection policy. New selection system. New selection system. I think it might have been Sports Max. I was looking at a couple of nights ago, and might have been Fazil Mohammed, I can't remember. Somebody raised the question about whether selection is one of the reasons that we are doing badly. Because the selection system suggests that the system that we've had in place has not been paying dividends. But we'll talk to the experts, and they will let us know. Please share the link, please share the live, and let everyone know that we're on. There's no match tonight, so far as I know. It was earlier today, and quite heartbreak there, like I said, for the St. Kitts Patriots. But that's the modern game. That's the modern game, Fabian Allen coming in at 10, and people say, well, why are you sending him so late? And he came in and whacked the 6 and a 4, and that was that. The Patriots couldn't defend 11 in the last over. Let's bring in our experts. Dr. Adams, good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Hines, and welcome to our listeners, and welcome to my good friend here, the Honorable, is it Honorable Mayor or
His Lordship?
Or is it your Lordship?
Your Worship. Your Worship. Your Worship.
Your Worship. Your Worship.
Yeah, and he's my little family too, Dr. Hines.
Really?
Yeah.
I got Linden connection,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Well, now you know.
And on top of that, Dr. Hines, I see you're stacking up with opening batsmen.
But that's what I was just about to say. That I'm stacking up tonight with opening batters. The new ball.
When you start doing, I don't know. I guess I know who you got coming at number 4, because I know that's where you really want to make this show in tonight, the Hetmeyer show.
The headline of the show is, "Has Hetmeyer rediscovered his groove?" That's the headline for the show tonight.
So you stack up with the opening batsman for give you some protection.
That's right. That's your job.
You see what opening batsmen do, or good opening batsmen do, come to the ground early, ensure that they check the weather, ensure that they go and look at the wicket to see if there's any moisture and these kind of things, and assess the conditions in order to determine if we batting first or we batting second, to give the bowlers a chance to exploit the moisture in the wicket. So we got a lot of work to do as opening batsmen, so and people have to respect that particular trait.
There you go. Yeah, Colin, I meant 2 out of 2 this week. I know the Warriors is 3 out of 3, but when I said 2 out of 2, I meant 2 out of the 2 matches they played this past week. Mr. Mentor, let me bring you in force, and so you'll take the new ball. Take the first ball. You'll take the first ball. The St. Kitts pitch. It was raining 6s and 200 scores a couple of days ago, and then all of a sudden, teams are struggling to make 160 on that very wicket. Well, I'm not sure that they're playing on the same strip, but it's the same ground. So I want you all to help me understand what's happened there. What has changed?
Well, my assessment of the 200 score in the earlier matches is that obviously the wicket and other things were fresher. Um, the, obviously the ground is also very small, so they took advantage of that particular situation earlier when the ball was actually coming on and the wicket was actually playing truer. As the matches go on and the wicket wear out, that's in Kit's wicket. Maybe after 6 days of consecutive or thereabout playing, naturally it gets drier. Preparation of each wicket, the groundsmen have to do their work and not give can't figure out how much water to give it or what they have to do concerning the particular wicket. So in that case, you notice what happened thereafter. People started with a lot of paces, but then coming down to the back end, they were playing at least three spinners in their team. Like even today, where St. Kitts itself played, I think it's if I'm right, St. Kitts or which team Pomal is in? The St. Kitts team, right?
Yes, Pomal
Right,
is in St. Kitts, yes.
right. So Pomal, Ned, as well as whoever else played. I can't remember the third spinner. Oh yes, the guy, Hasaranga.
Asaranga, oh, the magician that took four,
Right.
yes.
So they have all played in these matches here, come down to the back end. So that kind of a situation would have warrant you playing more spinners because the wicket is obviously drier and keeping a little lower and so on and so forth. So you won't be able to score as fast as you did in the prior matches. But coming down to the back end, the wicket will take a lot of spin and will allow for different kind of bowlers to do different things. I remember even earlier when they were playing those earlier matches where I feel sorry for Drakes because he's not obviously his usual self. Maybe in preparation for this tournament, he took it for granted that he can just turn up. But in the earlier matches, we went for a lot of runs, and I think even the people in the stands were saying to him, take the pace off the ball or do something a little different to slow it up. But even though he was slowing it up, even in today's match, he was bowling short. So
Yes.
um, there's a lot of uh, there's a lot of things that he didn't put into the game. Maybe he obviously got to go back, as they say. West Indies always saying we got to go back to the drawing boards. So the team themselves has to go back to the drawing board and come up with new scenarios to determine if he should play. I know there's a youngster on the bench that name, I think is Lane, if I'm right. I
John
believe
Lane.
it. Yeah, I think they should play him because I always thought he's a decent little pacer. He was part of the academy setup and he has had a chance to express himself maybe last year to some extent or some other game. I think it's time now he plays and they see what they could get out to the tournament because they've lost 5 matches in a row, so they're in bad position. The other team, which is the Falcons, could have been better off if it wasn't for Guyana, where that Pretorius guy got that 16 run in that last over, and some other game that went close. So Falcons have actually bounced back a bit, and they're just 2 wins. So that has put them in good stead going forward.
Dr. Adams, following up on Mr. Mayer's point there about the wicket drying out and spinners coming into their own, is that something, a view that you share, that has caused an almost 360 from what we were seeing in the earlier games at St. Kitts? Wins, St. Kitts, yes,
Yeah,
on the park.
hey, the mayor sounds like a ground curator.
Mhm.
In addition to his opening batting credentials. No, I agree. By the way, I made my debut for Guyana at that Warner Park.
Okay,
In
okay.
1969, I got run out in my first innings. I think I made 6 or 7. Second innings, I made 47 and got go along with the creeper on the final day the final over of the day. And as a matter of fact, Alvin Kalicharan, I mean, when you look back in history, Alvin failed in both innings in that game, and he was dropped in the next game in Jamaica. And he came back in Guyana, and he was dropped. And you remember these things. He was dropped on 7 as sitter, sealing it out, and he went on to make 63. And the next game against Trinidad, he made 99. He never looked back. But the mayor is absolutely correct, and I'm not sure if they're playing on the same wicket or not. But it depends on the weather. I don't know if they had any rainfall or if they put some more moisture, or it depends on everything that the mayor talked about. But it appears if this wicket has somehow it was a different wicket in terms of the moisture, and it obviously dried out because Hasarango came in and kind of make around the batsman with the 4 wickets that he picked up. So yes, wickets are today they can be good. It could go it could also, if rain fell or if under the covers it sweats a little bit earlier on, after you remove the covers, you can have a little bit of moisture on top. So, but it looks as if this wicket definitely dried out. It might have been an old wicket that has dried out to be taking the kind of spin that Hasran. Now, this is not taking anything away from Hasran, because he's always an excellent bowler and a threat, especially when the game is on the line. He always delivers real well.
The St. Kitts Patriots they've lost 5 on the run. Yeah, and some really hard games for them, going down to the wire. Dr. Adams, what do you think has gone wrong there?
Well, and they've played some. It's not that they've been really playing badly in this T20 game, and it wouldn't surprise me if they even come back. But in this, like in all T20s, anything can happen in a given day. All it takes is one good a good batsman. And like this game today, they could have won it. It could have gone either way. All it takes is just a good bowler. Look, I mean, it came down to the last over. So these T20 games is hard to tough. It's tough to analyze and to come up with any kind of definitive analysis, like in a test match where you have some time. In this game here, all it takes is just one stroke of luck, and you can win it. And the thing is, as long as if they stay close, all of these teams, any team can beat another team on any given day in this competition. So I don't think it's really that they're playing badly. These games are going to be they're going to be played closely throughout this entire tournament, as we saw with the new team Antigua. Is it Antigua?
Yeah, Falcons.
Yeah. They had a bad start. They won here recently, and so anything can happen on it. All it takes is one batsman to strike one day, or one bowler to strike, and even a catch. A good catch. Look at the game that was played the other day with the same our boy here, Allen. The catch that he took that to me made the difference in the game that they won. So, I don't I don't try to overanalyze whether this team is playing badly or not, unless it's obvious. Because today you can make in this game if things go with you. I mean, look at Hetmeyer, for example. I know you want to come to Hetmeyer.
No, we don't want to go to Hetmeyer yet. We're leaving that.
Yeah.
For special,
right.
I want Butcher. The audience is asking, don't go to Hetmeyer until Butcher comes.
But I think they're gonna. I'm gonna wait until the tournament matures some more before you say exactly where people are going to end up, because they're all being played very closely right now, except for a few blowouts. But I expect all of these games to play very closely, um, until the latter part of the tournament.
Well, I have two opening batters here, and so I've got to ask you all the question about whether in T20 there's such a thing as a specialist opening batter. Um, we have quite a few on show. Evan Lewis is back now. I noticed today Brandon King played his first match. He looked pretty good today. We have Mayers, who has opened for the West Indies. We have Johnson, Charles, um, as four of the main opening batters. And so I just want to get from you all whether there is such a thing as a specialist opening batter in T20. And I'll start with you, Alfred.
I I strongly believe that you don't necessarily have to have two out and out opening batsmen in 2020, but you can have person who could fill the void, but also could do something else down to the bottom. And I think Guyana has been somehow or the other trying with that. They tried a bit of that with Moti. They tried a bit of that with Sinclair, which whom many persons don't know. But Kevin Sinclair would have played as a youth cricketer for Guyana as an opening batsman who could bowl off spin. So it's not like it's nothing new to him, and I believe that they should persevere with him as an opening batter. But then I noticed again that this Robinson person, I wasn't sure if he's opener for New Zealand or in the leagues that they play, but he came in and he didn't do too bad either. From that perspective, for Guyana in this particular case, but I'm not one to have a settled issue. Last year we had the Saim Ayub, and then I think we played with along with a number of person, I think, and then Gobaz. I'm not sure if he came into the end or what it was, but there's no need to really and truly have that kind of situation. And there's also the Shy Hope who's in our team. There's also other persons who could fill the void and to do that job. But you don't have to get an out and out, two out and out opening batsmen to start with and to work with. Other teams are doing that, yes, to some extent, but if you have somebody who could fill the void, then you could play somebody else who could also do something, or you could have, like I said, if you play Kevin Sinclair, he'll bring that off spinning version to the game and to the bowling attack to give it that kind of balance. If you're playing against a lot of left-handers, so that he can bowl the ball away from that person and so on and so forth. So that's my position on that.
Dr. Adams, specialist
Yeah.
opening batter. What are we expecting the opening batters to do? Obviously, the straightforward answer is to whack the ball as much as possible during the power play. But anyhow, over to you.
I no, I what that's half of it. I like the idea of playing somebody who's going to do that. And that is why I always would like for Mayers to be there and a batsman such as Charles. They hit and miss. But then you need on the other side, because like you said in the power play, those guys they come in and they swipe the ball in the top end, it flies all over the place. That's their role. However, at the other end, you can't have both of them doing the same. You need somebody who can bat long, bat through the innings, and that is why Hope and the Kings and those type of folks, that is their role. So I don't. I think it's an overkill when we talk about specialist opening batsmen in T20, because remember, the one thing that the opening batsmen do is the ball moves is supposed to move around like in Test cricket. It moves around. In T20, you're lucky if you get the first overs and the ball continues to move after the first over. So that should not be an issue. So I like the idea of one batsman, one batter, who's just going to throw his bat around and to take advantage of the power play and the limited fielders on beyond the line. But then I want somebody, a very good batsman such as the King, who to be there and to marshal the team, to bat as long as possible.
Mr. Butcher, good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening.
We are talking about since we have two opening batters here. We are talking about whether, in fact, you open batting to Butch when you play.
No, I was middle order.
You're middle order.
I opened, but I was more middle order.
You're more middle
I used
order.
to like to play shots from the word book.
The opening batsman is do the to boy.
No. Y'all want to see the sheen off the ball.
You making joke, you play shots to boy.
You only had one man used to play shots with Fredericks. Everybody else, Chef, see the sheen off the ball and leave it to us middle order men.
But I saw a banner from Jamaica. Shotgun, Basil, shotgun, William.
Yeah.
Who used to blast from?
Oh, yeah, shotgun.
Yeah.
That's why they called him shotgun.
That's why they called him shotgun.
You see, like Mentor know what I'm talking about. They call him leave alone. Leave alone.
Listen, leave alone is a stroke, If not for them batsmen, learn this technique of leaving the ball alone and knowing where they're off they'll make a lot more runs, Because while I leave alone the ball, I could have also play a stroke. But I choose to leave it alone so that I could preserve my wicket in order to survive to play the next shot.
Yeah,
you ever get bowled down leaving alone?
Oh, definitely.
Dr. Hines, you too sharp for this conversation. I think you read through Basil's lines there.
Oh, Lord.
So Basil, do we need specialist opening batters for T20 cricket? Or?
What do you classify as specialist, right? I mean, what happens in T20 cricket? You find you got batters who can fulfill certain roles because they have exhibited certain skill sets in situations. Hence, they're good at opening because one of the things in the T20 game, you want to take advantage of the power play, right? You want to score as many runs as you possibly can with a minimum loss of wickets in the power play, right? Because usually the middle overs is where a team, they're able to spread the field. And if teams have good spinners, that's where they could bog. Well, particularly, especially us West Indians, because our guys don't rotate the strike as well, hit the gaps, and so on and so forth, right? So it's always imperative you want to take charge of that power play, and you have to find guys who are capable of doing that. That, if anything, that's what a specialist T20 opener is. Somebody that has that capability to do that more times than not, and because you've had guys who have been put in that situation to try to get on with it, and that's not their game. And in getting on with it, they're back in the pavilion before you could say nice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think, Dr. Hines, and that's why I think it's becoming a standard thing right now. If you can find that player like a Narayan and those type, it's a hit or miss. So what you're basically doing, you're sacrificing a wicket. You're saying, here, if I lose them with a forced ball, it doesn't matter because my number 3 is going to come and probably play, the kind of role with 2 specialist opening batsmen. But you need that one player to take advantage who's just going to swing his bat, but you have that other player there, a really good batsman who can still step up the tempo, but will be there for a long time.
But a player like Narayan is a rarity. That's the thing. Yep. If you could get a player like Narayan, who is a top-notch spin bowler, one of your top spin bowlers, but still has the skill, the ability to go at the top and swing and score runs in a regular, you're able to actually lengthen your batting lineup because of that.
But
the guy who would normally batting at 7 or 8 in the rain is instead coming to the top of the order, right?
I agree. But I put in that category because I think that's the only thing that Charles does. If I'm going to play Charles, that's going to be Charles' role. I don't want Charles going there and want to play a kind
Well,
of a
that,
real batsman. I want you going there. If you're going to open with Hope or King, I want you to go in there and throw your bat. That's your style. Don't go in there and try to niggle the ball around. I put Charles, even Charles, in that
yeah,
category.
and
And if he gets away with it, it's you're in trouble.
I think that's his role.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, in the World Cup, playing in Guyana on those wickets, Charles don't have a good record in Guyana. Period. And he, people criticized him for his efforts, but in the total scheme of things, I think he got the job done for us with those 40-something runs, because had he not scored those runs, and he became the guy who everybody batted around, because, he couldn't get off in his normal way. And I give him credit for having to be able to make that adjustment so the other guys could get the job done, because he wasn't able to tee off. And Alfred could tell you, Providence is not an easy place to tee off.
Right.
But I'm not the greatest fan of what's the guy name? Johnson Charles.
Oh, none of us are.
I strongly I don't believe he should have been part of the squad.
Why you think I say he going in there as a slugger?
But not even a slugger. He probably got good friends in the system that allows him to do.
That's been alleged. That's been alleged.
And that's been alleged a long time ago. But Johnson Charles should be making the team in front of Myers.
No, I absolutely agree. I think that
to some extent, I know that I wasn't sure what happened with Lewis. He was injured somewhere along the line. I think King was also had some injury or something like that. But Shai Hope himself should have been opening the batting a long time. Shai Hope has just come off a season with Guyana, win the tournament, was performing exceptional. He's a good white ball player around the world, and there's no way that Johnson Charles or Shai Hope should be bringing water for Johnson Charles. It was ridiculous for them to have such a situation. No, but I heard Dr. Vincent on this issue in relation to Johnson Charles being this pinch hitter or this person who go out there and just do a job. But you don't have enough. You have people. It's either go and do the slug or do whatever you have to do and get on with it, because if he out, nobody really knows. But he's actually playing. He playing in a team feeling like he's some opening batsman, and he's he's this showman and he whatever, and he end up playing some different styles and taking up a set of balls and
soaking up balls.
Set of things he's been doing that was not. What I don't think was part of the game plan. He went out with his own game plan.
Yeah.
And doing his own thing, and it affected the team in some ways. But sometimes it also worked because we lost wickets around a situation and so on and so forth. But Johnson Charles should have been in the team from the get go.
No,
but I blame Dr. Heinz wife for Johnson Charles being in the team.
Who?
Mr. Hetmeyer. If Mr. Hetmeyer to perform against England, Johnson Charles had no chance coming in the side. It's your boy with his failures get dropped, and they bring Johnson Charles out to the cold storage.
Yeah.
If your boy did his job, we would not be talking about Johnson Charles.
But even Hetmeyer.
I think you're tempting Dr. Heinz for let me start this conversation for Hetmeyer.
Let us go to Mr. Hetmeyer.
I just wanted Dr. Heinz to know who is to blame for Mr. Charles in this tech-ups. Because
but Hetmeyer could have made the team. Remember Hetmeyer for the players, even as an opening batsman. Hetmeyer came up at under 17 and under 19 cricket as an opening batsman, and then he went on to bat for. Then he became this big 2020. But
that was a different Hetmeyer.
Hetmeyer used to open batting for Guyana.
I can't go with you there, Alfred.
Of ages, Alfred. That the Hetmeyer of ages ago.
Hetmeyer has hardly ever opened in T20 cricket. So don't throw him into a role that's
no, but if there was no need for Johnson Charles at the top there anyway, so you could invest and gamble Hetmeyer for going to beat it.
No,
and give you a sparkling start, especially against teams like we didn't have to play India at no point, but I mean we had to play South Africa. And had we beaten South Africa, I would have gambled with Hetmeyer as a man who is an international
Here,
batsman who
I
play
don't agree
against
with
these
that.
guys.
I
Hey,
don't agree
Alfred,
with
the
that.
team
I
should
agree.
have been. The
Uh-huh.
team should have been.
Meyer should have been in the team. Meyer should have been.
Myers should have opened with Hope or
Yes.
Yeah,
King, and Hope or King at 3.
right,
Right.
And then of course you've got you've got Puran in,
Mhm.
right,
but those
right.
should have been in top
Yeah,
4. But Myers should have been in that team. It puzzles everybody as to why Myers is not
And
in
and
that
then
team.
and then Vincent, with this recent series against South Africa, you picked. Now we supposed to be. I mean, the skipper said he didn't agree. He's not buying this narrative about looking towards 2026 and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
But are you going to tell me you're going to bring Johnson Charles and he don't play a game? It's almost like it's Charles, I'll give you a payday. So use me by come in the squad, you're getting a payday, right? You're gonna run water and thing, you're getting a payday, right?
So wait, Johnson, Charles was in the South Africa squad.
Where you
Right,
promise?
like
Where
you
you
may
mean,
paying
Alfred?
attention
Where you
now.
mean?
No,
You didn't see running out with water?
Yes, he
I
was
didn't
in the
realize
squad.
that. I didn't realize that he was actually
Yeah,
in the squad.
Yeah, he
I
was in
was
the squad.
everybody. Unfortunately, they didn't have a press conference
Mm,
when the team was selected, so Mr. Sammy could be questioned
right,
because that was a question I know some guys in the media wanted to ask. Why
right.
Mears is not in the team and Charles is in the team, right?
Mhm,
We got a World Cup in 2 years. South
mhm,
Africa played against us. 8 of the men who played in the final 11 were not in the South Africa squad. So they, on the other hand, looking to expand their pool with an eye towards 2026 because you don't know if a David Miller, for example, is going to be still playing at that international because he's 36, 37 years, around that age, 35 years old, right? Like Johnson Charles. So what were we doing? Keeping Charles in the squad.
I don't, I can't see how Hetmeyer was fetching water for Johnson Charles. But anyhow,
No, he
right.
wasn't fetching water for Johnson Charles.
anyhow,
Especially for the team.
I agree with
He was fetching.
Alfred that Hetmeyer, when we got desperate,
Mhm.
Hetmeyer should have been tried
Yeah,
as an
you had
opener.
it.
Anyhow, let's talk about Hetmeyer for the past week and a half. Um, 19, the first match played across, trying to work the ball, got ball, but then he came the next match, 91. He himself says that he is clearer now. He didn't say clear about his role, but we can figure out what he means. Are we seeing a more settled Hetmeyer now? I start with you, Alfred, then I go to Doc, and then Basil.
Listen, I have been a follower of Hetmeyer. I know he broke my heart many times, but he also did the job. Yeah. And as a talent that he happens to be, he should obviously be part of the 11 rather than part of the 14 or 15. Maybe too, the drop in that he had for the last year, Karen Water, has done him a bit of good. And he's gotten a lot hungrier because I thought he spoke about that as well, saying he's a lot more hungrier for the game
Yeah.
and he's a lot more passionate about what he's doing. Um, I think too that the the drop in that Sammy himself has given him because Sammy and others are selectors of the actual 11, and he would obviously know what is his best combination on the day. And you can't get a man with Hetmeyer's talent on the bench and not give him the kind of opportunities to be able to express himself. Um, and even when I think in the last T20 match when they played South Africa, and I think he got a third or something, which I believe Puran also got the impact player for the match. And I think when they had the little team meeting and the team discussion, I listened to it, and they had it, and Sammy gave a speech and so on and so forth, and hand out commendation to this person, commendation to that person, and then he also suggests obviously the impact player for the match was Puran, but Puran took that impact prize and gave it to Hetmeyer because he believed that Hetmeyer was created the biggest impact in the game and caused them. He scored a total of something off 15 or 14 balls and carried them over the line. And even when he did that, and and so on, I think there's when Sammy jumped back into the conversation to state that, oh, I forgot to probably say something about the contribution that Hetmeyer made. And that in itself showed that he is not, he hasn't been looking at Hetmeyer. He hasn't had Hetmeyer in his frame. And that, certain little things like that tend to not give a player the kind of confidence. I'm hopeful that all of that will steer Hetmeyer in a different direction. Like I said, the 19 he made, the 90 something he made, and the way in which he dispatched with Mr. Joseph. What Joseph he named Alzari Joseph in such a dismissive manner is also shows clearly that the man is totally switched on. And I'm pretty sure that when they come up against these different teams, and even when they come up against St. Lucia, where Sammy is the coach, I think you're gonna see a different Hetmeyer. But what I've been looking at him, I ain't see him personally, but what I've seen of him on the television, he look a lot fitter. He barely gone down a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
So I believe a fitter cricketer, the mindset is be different. A fitter cricketer, two things that they want to be out there in the park. Um, he will be able to concentrate for longer periods, and he'll be able to do special things, not only for Guyana but for the rest of me.
Doc?
Yeah, of course, you're gonna hear my sing song going way back to, Basil got a different view, but in the IPL, Hetmeyer became not a batsman. Hetmeyer became an entertainer who came in and was batting at 7-8 for 4 deliveries. They call him a finisher, and it was in his head. His employers were calling him an entertainer and a finisher. That should have never happened. Now Basil has the stats to show that the reason why that was because he was feeling on top of the order. But I would have kept him there. But he changed his mindset. And I think that was when he started going downhill with cutting his hair, with coloring his hair. He put on a big stomach. And because he became an entertainer, I remember the owner of the franchise in IPL, when he signed a new contract, the man went and had a big splash in the signing and said that, call him an entertainer. I thought that was an insult. But Hetmeyer, that's the kind of label that he wanted. However, I think this dropping, I think because he was left out of the team, I think it made a big difference. And even when, and I got to disagree with my good friend there, Alfred, that he said that was the impact. He named that to Warner. So I think we had that game locked up already. Because I remember even I was saying, well, this here is his opportunity to play a not out, to get a not out inning, to at least get his confidence in. We had already had that game sewn up. So I wouldn't call that an impact. Now, however, he made the third one not out, and we all know we all play cricket, and we always say that 90% of your batting is your confidence. When you get to this level, you don't change nothing. All you want is just one good inning, and I believe this 91 that he made here, I think it's 91 or whatever it is. I think that has turned him into a new player, and his attitude, you can see, like Alfred said, his stomach is down. He looks fitter, and he looks happier. His hair is not colored and all this kind of fancy, stuff that he was into. So I believe the dropping, I think it told a story because of the embarrassment that he probably suffered, and probably a lot of people spoke to him. So right now he looks as if he's on the right road, and let's hope that he can turn that talent that we all know that he has, turn it into a reality.
As I come over to you, Basil, one of the things I noted about the 91 and even the 19 in the first match is that he's not going in an obligatory way to mid wicket all the time. You saw a full range of stroke play all around the wicket. The Hetmeyer, who was the finisher, and even when he wasn't finishing, everything was up in the air to deep mid wicket, caught and gone home, and so on. In the 91, like I said, you saw a range of strokes through the offside. You saw him, of course, flicking over backward square on a little bit of Gordon Greenwich there, which I hadn't seen in a long time from since he was a young boy. So as we come over to you, Basil, I just wanted to throw that in, the range of stroke play we saw in the 91. Yeah.
The game when he made 31 against South Africa, if you remember, at the start of the innings, he looked like he could barely get the ball off.
Yeah, he wasn't middling the ball at all.
He looked like a guy who has not played cricket in a while. He was rusty, and it was the perfect scenario for him to come in where there was no pressure. Shea Hope at the other end was stroking the ball nicely, so he could take his time and get into the inning. And yes, in that inning there, he also played balls in all parts of the field, unlike what you often see when he's finishing there in the IPL and elsewhere, looking to hit the ball through corner pretty much for the most part. And I think that inning kind of got him rolling, back in and playing cricket at that level. And now in the CPL, you're seeing Hetmeyer. Well, I would say this about Hetmeyer. Hetmeyer has always done well in the CPL. This is no news to anybody that he's doing well again in the CPL. I guess because of the circumstances that he's coming out of, playing not playing in the World Cup, being on the bench of the West Indies team, that people are looking and scrutinizing him a little closer. But you go through Hetmeyer's career, he's always been a bad man in the CPL. But what I would say regarding him also is that I agree with Vincent. That sitting down on the bench throughout the World Cup, I think a player of his caliber would have felt, realize that he's not bigger than the game, and he has to put in the requisite work to show that he belongs in the West Indies team. But I have said the guy that kept him out of the West Indies team is the captain. The captain is not going to get dropped. That was his face, in my view. If Powell was not the captain, he would have get dropped during the World Cup. But it's because he was a captain, he kept Hetmeyer out to the side. They were never going to put Hetmeyer to open batting. I knew that was never what's going to happen. I know the Hetmeyer fans wanted him to play. Let me try him, just get him in the team to open. But they picked 3 guys to open batting in the team, and he wasn't one of them. And the captain was the man that kept him out of the team. Unfortunately for him, the man, because when you look, as I repeated this before, the other middle order batters in the World Cup, whenever they played, they all performed, right? Case, the guy Puran, and Rutherford. They all performed. So the one that did not perform was the skipper, right? And they wasn't going to drop him. And that was the unfortunate rule for Hetmeyer. Now you see, and Rutherford, as an example, seized his opportunity when he got into the team with both hands and did not give Hetmeyer a chance to get back in, because he took Hetmeyer's spot. And his performance kept Hetmeyer out of the team, right? I mean, now Rutherford has been cut from...
He didn't play today.
No, he's no longer on the team. He has been cut.
Is it cut, Basil? I thought they said he went home on business, on family, something.
No. I missed that news. Talk to me.
Yeah.
Rutherford has been cut. I mean, they use the fancy term, personal reasons,
right,
and so on. But he's efficient. It's the same language they used with Sinclair last year.
Yes.
The same exact language.
So
Rutherford
not in the team anymore.
he's no
He
longer
didn't
with
play
it.
today.
Didn't you guys watch? Because I got a call early this morning about it, right? And I had to make some calls to verify certain things, but it further corroborated what I was told when I saw the bench, the St. Kitts bench on 2 occasions. He was not on the bench. He has been cut from the team.
Basil Butcher.
On what ground?
Basil Butcher, please tell us what cut from the team means.
Means that it's just like
you get dropped.
You're no longer part of the team.
You get dropped.
But is it bad behavior, bad form? What?
Well, that part I don't think I want to say on social media here tonight, because what was publicized. I got information that is further deeper than that.
Right.
But I don't think it is my place
to
say we go, because that would be the place of if Rutherford chooses to do it or the franchise chooses to do it, because that generic thing came from the CPL, not from the franchise. Just like last year with Sinclair, it came from the CPL, not the Guyana Amazon Warriors.
Are you at liberty to say what was the story with Sinclair last year?
Again, what came out after the fact was there was some disciplinary issues that was alleged, and there was a final act, what we say, the straw that broke the camel's back when they came back to Guyana, and that's when they decided to let him go.
That's quite unfortunate.
But it's obvious it wasn't something where it could not be resolved. At that moment, they needed to cut, right? Because
the fact of the matter, Kevin is back in the team.
That's what I'm saying. Because if it was one of those irrevocable separations, why would they have drafted him back into the team this year? So it was one of, it's like, you have your child behave bad, you discipline them or whatever, but it's not something you're not going to deal with your child again, right? So I think it was more a situation like that with Sinclair. But based on what I'm hearing regarding Rutherford and this situation, if certain individuals, I can't say from a franchise perspective, but he had some issues with certain individuals, and the team decided to cut him, which is unfortunate. But they're saying that he will no longer be able to participate in the CPL. I don't know if the rules state that another team could be able to sign him for the rest of the season. That remains to be seen, because based on the information I get in, there are other teams that are very interested in Mr. Rutherford's services for the remainder of this season.
Yes. Young Savory, is it St. Kitts that he has gone to, or Antigua?
Antigua.
Yeah. Antigua. No, this is not good news at all. This evening.
No, it's not. It's not at all, because what these things within the context of these leagues, the kind of information, whatever occurred with Rutherford, other people gonna hear about it, because remember, this team is closely affiliated. His team is closely affiliated with RCB in the IPL, because the head coach is a RCB coach, and he coaches the RCB. He's like the assistant head coach for the RCB women team in the IPL women's tournament. So, I just hope it's that Rutherford gets on with another team. He had some issues in Guyana. That's why he had to leave. No, this is a second franchise. So I just hope this situation will be resolved. I would have hoped that the West Indies board could have gotten involved, because he's a West Indies player, right? We had a situation, I don't want to call franchise name and so on, but a couple of years ago, a prominent West Indies player was on the verge of being sent home by his franchise. And this guy was a prominent player. We getting ready to go to a World Cup, right? And he's a prominent player in the team. And the board, West Indies board, told the franchise, yo, y'all got to resolve this. You can't send home a West Indies player. And it was resolved, and he played on, right? So I would have hoped that this situation could have been resolved similarly, but I don't know really what all the details, but I just heard certain things, and I'm not gonna repeat them here.
Oh, in case you all are just joining us, yes, it's West Indies Cricket 101, and we're having our usual discussion here. We are reviewing the past week in the CPL, high level of T20 cricket. You know, you all know, as I've said here over and over, that the T20 had to be sold to me. I've come to appreciate. I've come to appreciate that it is making a contribution to the game itself, and I can use the term high quality to describe some of the cricket we've seen. One of the things, gentlemen, is that we're noticing some of the younger players whose names would not have come up in West Indies circles as T20 players. I'm talking here about Carty, Louis, young Joel Andrew. We've seen Auguste. Help me, y'all. Auguste, yes, Grenadian youngster. Coming in. We see some of these youngsters. We saw Kadim Aline, made a good 20 odd or 30 odd a couple of days ago. Is that encouraging for our cricket to see some of the young players from the academy getting chances, and even some people whose name would not have even been called with ODI cricket? I mean, coming in and making the name. Alfred, that's encouraging.
I'm happy that West Indies Cricket Board probably caused or demanded that this happen, and that even though they've been having these under 23 or under 19 players that is part of the setup, or these different team setup, that some of them were just in the team based on the quota arrangement, but were not playing. And that was not doing the West Indies any good. That wasn't doing the players any good. That wasn't doing the region any good. And it's something that I'm happy that they demand that these players play, and they also play and bat or bowl in their particular positions, and that even though they have to play a maximum of 5 games, you could still go on to play them based on their ability. I think this young guy Jewel also did pretty well as a young 17-year-old. I think there's also a young guy named James that I think open batting and bowl a bit of off spin as well.
Kofi James.
Yes, you're seeing a lot of players that will carry West Indies cricket forward, and that they're getting the exposure they need to rub shoulders with these international players, and also to play very highly competitive cricket. The Caribbean T20 that we had in those early days promoted that kind of a thing. That's how you would have seen the Bravos, the Pollards, at the time I think Jonathan Fu was one of those players that came out of the woodwork at the time. And there were many other players that were able to come out based on exposure, because at that time there was Caribbean T20 where every player came from the Caribbean, but now it's franchise cricket.
You're talking about the Stamford period?
No, it was after.
After, okay.
After Stanford, there was something in Caribbean T20. Then it led to the CPL.
Yes.
So the exposure that was given to those guys then, it was also good, and then we come to this. So the demand that the West Indies Cricket Board is making on this kind of a situation, it happens in other countries, in India and others, where you have those young players coming, or emerging players, so to speak, coming through the woodwork and getting the kind of exposure is very good. I believe there's a plan to maybe have some kind of a developmental program into next year, and just before T20, so that you'll have some under 23 level tournament, so you'll be able to pick from those play that tournament to allow for each team to be stacked up properly, and it's very important for the continuity of the game in the West Indies, for the exposure of those guys, and that we could see the next generation of players coming out of this system, not only from what we're doing here, but even from next year moving onward. So I support that kind of a situation, and I'm happy that our thinking, or the West Indies cricket board thinking, is in the right place, so that we can have new players on the stage to do the things necessary to keep us as a region, performing at an exceptionally high standard. West Indies cricket at the level of T20 performs very well. I think we ranked Muzzy about third now in the world, and that ranking could get better. But the ranking could only get better if we expose these players and expose other players, so that whenever somebody fall out, you have somebody right there to fill in.
Dr. Adams?
Yeah, I totally agree with Alfred. But I think the additional benefit and what it has done, and the key word is exposure, as Alfred rightly said, in terms of bringing, it's not only to expose them to get the experience, they get the experience. And but I think another key part of it is to provide a competition with even the players who are there already. No player, I don't care how big a star you are, want to have some youngster coming up, and you got to be looking over your shoulder. So I think it provides that competition, because I think one of the problems in the West Indies team that there is not like a long time, in the days of Butcham, Kanai, and those guys, whenever you got Peter Lashley making doubles and everything, breathing down your throat, you got to continue from across to keep your place. We do not have that in the West Indies anymore, and that is why somebody make a little 50, they could still maintain the place. So I believe more than anything else, I think this really drives up the competition to keep even the players who have been maintaining the place, to keep them cognizant that they've got to perform to keep their place. Since it's that competitiveness that I think they bring more than anything else. And the thing that I like too is that we're seeing a dimension of some of these players that we never expected. I don't think I expected to see Carty, playing this style of play. You guys probably seen him more than I do, but he's one of the surprises for me. Louis was another surprise. My first time seeing him was in Test cricket, but here again, he's got another dimension to his play. So I think this T20, as much as old timers like ourselves, it's hard to buy into it. But when you look at these guys, like, so rather than them focusing just on test play, it's a nice thing to see, because I believe a good test cricketer will make a better T20 player than just a limited over, rather than just a pure limited. I don't like this thing about pigeonholing people into these various things. So I like that across the board thing, where these guys are showing that they've got different styles that can fit into these different types of game.
Basil?
As Alfred said earlier, the West Indies board developed. They seem to have a good relationship with CPL, and I think when Adams was the director of cricket, they were able to get this thing where they would have two emerging players each team would pick, and they have to play them. I think it's a maximum of either 5 or 6 games.
Right.
Games they have to play, whereas a combination or one player, whatever, must be played by emerging players, and that's good. One of the things too, as Alfred mentioned, they said they're going to do a T20 under 23, because this is one of the problems that happens to these young players in the West Indies. They get to play, maybe if they get the 5 games, or even they get to play more, or what have you. After that, what kind of competition are they able to play in? There's no other T20 competition of any quality that they would get a chance to play in. So now they have to wait till next year again to come. So where they haven't the environment for them to continue developing their skills. So at under 23 tournament, which most of these guys are under 23 that are filling these emerging player slots, play would help to play that role. And the second thing I like about the under 23, because now guys will have a chance to get drafted into a team, not based on what somebody say about them or hope about them. Meritocracy, because now you go in the under 23 tournament and you do the serious business, you should be the guys that getting drafted in to whatever different franchises around. So a youngster now could look and say, all right, I want to play for the Guyana Amazon Warriors. How do I get into the Guyana Amazon Warriors? Right? I got to get into the Guyana under 23 team and do the business, and I could get a chance to get drafted in to the Guyana Amazon Warriors, right? Rather than, because, I mean, Alfred could tell you, they got some friends and family selections has been going on with some of these teams who you know and who you're friendly with and those kind of things. And we got to eradicate that. We got to make it pure meritocracy.
Let me add quickly, Dr. Hines,
go ahead.
Just a slight disagreement with this under 23 thing. I think it should be under 19. And I remember, never forget Clyde Walcott in 1968. The Forrest Benson Hedges, the youth series in the Caribbean. It was an under 21 tournament. And Clyde Walcott said the Guyana team will be an under 19 team. He said, by the time you get to 21, you should have been playing for your national team already. And I believe the same thing here. When you get to 23, you should have been playing for your national team already. And would you believe the Guyana team, well, even though we were under 19, we played against all the other teams with under 20, under 21, and we won the tournament. And a lot of those folks from the under 19, from that under 19 team made the Guyana national team soon thereafter. So I believe, just based upon that, I believe it should have been more of an under 19 team or even an under 21. But I think under
we already have an under 19 tournament, both 50 over and 3-day cricket.
No, I'm talking about a T20 because
I really don't think our players are so well developed at under 19, most of them, to walk into franchise cricket at that level.
Yeah. I think the guys need to hone the skills. It's already happening here from under 19 to under 23. If you don't do something about it, you're gonna lose a lot of players.
Of course.
After they leave under 19 cricket. So
that's always a
really and truly this gap will give them the kind of exposure, allow them to be seen. And like I said, when the Pollards and the Bravos and the Narines and all them, that was their age in the Caribbean T20 when they were exposed. And when those guys played in those years, because I used to go and follow the cricket. Remember, I was president of the BCC, president of Georgetown, all kind of roles I had at the time. So I used to go around the place and follow them in the various regions. And I talking about 15 years ago, thereabout. Those guys were just 21, 22. Now, the trick about this issue is that this will also create windows for them, not only while they're on the 23, only to play for Guyana or play within the region. They will also be able to be bought by clubs and franchises all over the world because of the youthfulness and the exposure. And when they also get that opportunity as well, they will be able to be an automatic buy in these other teams, even if it's as an academy player or they have this quota within the system. They would even get a direct buy as well. So, because enough of them players I see coming, a man playing for one of them team, I think is from New Zealand, somewhere here.
Clarkson.
The man look ready at that.
Can't get the ball.
Well, let me ask you a question, guys. Isn't it a fact that if you look at these national teams, the T20 team, but most of those players that are coming in, by a lot of them are coming to the team before they even meet 23 years old. Look, we've got this under 17 kid, for example, this Andrew kid.
Yes.
If you look at the teams, when a good player makes a national team, they're already below 23 years old.
Well,
Yeah,
well, that was in the past, not so much today.
that's right. Yeah,
Not so much today. In
Uh,
the Vincent, when you was playing, and even after you, um, you had guys that would come out of Benson Hedges or on the 19 regional tournaments and do well, and you will look at that guy and say, yeah, man, this guy ready to get up to the senior team. But in recent years, I mean, I've been watching the under 19 tournaments because they stream it now. You can't, the one guy came out of that into the national team was Tarn, the fast bowler.
yeah.
Nobody else, right?
Yeah,
Nobody else.
the standard is not the best at the
No,
under 19 level.
yeah,
I
it's not a
believe that why that is happening too is we learned our cricket, Vincent, playing the longer version of the game. We played a lot of 3D cricket. I play a lot of 3D. Show you, Vincent, play a lot of 3D cricket. And most 3D
Well, in
cricketers,
my time, you hardly played any limited. I remember
yeah,
Ratmans and Bristol. Those were
right. So you learn to hone your skill. You learn to bat out situation. You learn how to bat long. And they're very, and that's what the Clive Lloyds and others. And when you sit down and think about the Test cricketers we had, and also the one-day cricketers that we ended up picking, were the same. Were from the Test team into the one-day team, and they were batsmen that could bat a situation because like a Test match, it has these different scenarios. It's like a we call it a full course meal in a 1 day match. It also have these different situations: a force phase, a middle phase, and an iron phase. And but a lot of players now don't understand that because they're not playing enough games. They're not batting in those given situations. So I truly believe that great investment not only in Guyana but throughout the region to push to play more longer version of the game, which will help players to bat more into 50 over kind of a format, and which
Yeah,
will also help them in the 20 over format, like you did mention of Lewis,
Mhm.
who and unlike Shai Hope, who Shai Hope started the Test cricket. Think about it, Chris
yeah,
Gayle and them play about 100 Test match, and play how much one day. Virat Kohli plays how much 100 Test match plus he play for 50 over and 20 over cricket. Um, Williamson from New Zealand. Every country that you think about that has really good Test cricketers, end up those players also play good 50 over cricket and also 2020 cricket. So it shows clearly that the skills that you apply from first class cricketers, 3 and 4 day cricket, could also be applied for 50 over as well as 2020 cricket. So there need to be more investment. It might not be very appeasing or doesn't take to the eyes when you got play 3 day cricket. But that investment maybe also need to come from CPL, which CPL should be able to cause more, not investment only in 2020 cricket, but some of the monies and funds that are made here should be invested in the various regions throughout even maybe the individual franchise do it, sponsor 3 day cricket and get it played, because the more they play those kind of cricket, it will help the cricket moving forward and help the development of the game, either at the 50 over level or the 20 over level. But 3 day cricket is not attractive, but it must be played because that's where the guys develop their skills.
Yeah, I think one of the areas in West Indies cricket, with it with as our cricket deteriorated over the last several decades, the area we have never paid a close attention to is the foundation of our cricket, which is our club cricket and school cricket, right? I mean, in a place like Guyana, they don't play school cricket at all, right? And our club cricket, the clubs are struggling, and I hear the same thing all over the region. The clubs are struggling, and that's where a youngster will play most of his cricket before he gets to the higher level. So if he's not coming out of a proper foundation, we are already at a handicap when he has to go up against his folks around the world who at his age group and at that level, they're getting exposed to all the tools and so on to develop their skills, knowledge of themselves, and so on and so forth. Our youngsters are not being afforded that, so and one of the most important elements, I mean, Alfred and Vincent can attest to this, about West Indies cricket, it was always about the standard of our cricket. So you couldn't be a fraud and move up the level because you will be found out and you will drop off on the wayside. Today now, guys are getting up to regional level and can't even sweep properly, for example. They can't even play a sweep shot properly. And today's game demands that the way with all the different formats and so on, demands that you have expertise in all of those various shots, right? So that's an area we have to look at. Alfred could attest to this. He was a president of a club. I remember because the same club he president, there's a club I always used to go by, DCC, over the last 30-something years, right? And I always use this example. Christian, I remember coming to the club once, hearing them by Butch, we got a bad a bad man, Christian. I said, why? Well, I got this by play. Every time I come home, and they got first division, and I got a DCC watch a game. Because maybe they got 1 or 2 games. What them move. I said, well, Christian, why Butch Christian that played, right? So as a result, guys playing first division should not be in first division because the Christians of the world are in Trinidad plying the trade because they're getting paid. You know, first time I can see Christian play is still when he played for Guyana and the stream thing. That's when the first time I see Christian play. To this day, all the years I go home, I never see Christian play for DC because he's always in Trinidad.
Something bothers me, and I want to get you all take on it. When you look at Guyana's bowling lineup, both spin bowling and fast bowling, you're wondering where a Junior Sinclair, Ashmead Ned will get to play in a Guyana 11. And look at the riches that we have in fast bowling. If everybody's available, you're wondering if Isaiah Thorne or the other fast bowler from Berbice,
Shamar.
Not Shamar. The other one.
There's another guy from.
There's another guy.
Tyndall.
You're wondering where people like Isaiah Thorne and Tyndall will get a break to play for Guyana. If you have Shepard and Kimo Paul and Shamar Joseph and Smith, all fit and available, where Tyndall is going to get a break?
Dr. Hines, that's what we want. He's a 20-something-year-old. He's in the mid-20s. That's what you want. You want serious competition. Nobody must be in the team because they think there's a big buy. If you're a youngster, you gotta do the job and force it. I'm tired of hearing these guys. Oh, we gotta play the youngster. No. You a youngster, you want to get in the team. You got to go and do the business to show that you belong more than the other guys. That's the competition that we need that would help to raise the standard of our cricket.
Basil is absolutely correct. I remember, from nobody else but Basil's father, when you complain that you're getting picked and all, you know what he said? How much hundreds you make? No, that's what he used to say. How much hundreds you make? You can't go and tell him you make a 60 something. No, he said nobody remember. And he always used to say, you make the runs, they got to pick you. Exactly. They can fight the play. And that also puts pressure, which is what I said before. It puts pressure on those that you're looking over. You know, they got to be looking over their shoulder. Who's coming?
Yes.
But that is what built the West Indies team going back in those days. When we used to have Shell Shield, why you think Basil Fard and all them used to make sure they come back home for play Shell Shield, and they used to come back and dominate. They used to, and if they had to dominate because you got Peter Lashley and you got Renford Pinnock and all them making big run, but they can't get in because Basil and all them. You know,
I got a joke. The late Rocky Man, they had a player complaining that they in DCC they picking me. So Rocky said, "Okay, come youngster, come over to the bar here." And Rocky pull out his book, his little pad. Hey, Rocky, how many hundreds you have? The boy said none. Rocky let out some cuss word and chest. Because Rocky said, I'm going to make a case for you, right? First thing, to start the case, you gotta. If I go make a case for this youngster, I gotta say, this boy got X number of hundreds, right? And when the man said Rocky ain't got hundreds, Rocky cuss you and chase you and go continue taking it. So that's the situation.
Before I get your thoughts on the new selection system, Doc, the guy that opened with you on your debut, Isaac Sunarine. I remember as a small boy coming up that Brian Sadler, we had a commentator, Brian Sadler. I asked Reds for him and he said he's somewhere,
In
Brian
Canada.
Sadler is somewhere in
Canada.
Canada. Right.
In Canada.
But Brian Sadler was very, very big on Sunarine. How good was he?
He was hard to get out. That for sure. And most of them were these batsmen in that time. Sunarine was in the same mold as Hetmeyer, Romain. Hetmeyer used to play more shots, but Sunarine was one of the hardest batsmen to get out. But the thing that used to bother them is the pace.
Pace.
People like Sunarine, but that's why when we played Babis and we had the pace, that's what we used to terrorize them with, except for that man that named Romain Hetmeyer.
Yeah.
That guy was a class batsman. And we all know the story with him and Fredericks and how he was supposed to play in front of Fredericks when Fredericks. But Sui was a hard batsman to get out. He never took chances. He still had a few shots, but he was a really good, except for a lot of pace. He was a good batsman. Question.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I remember Brian Sadler. Brian Sadler really thought a lot about him. He used to bemoan the fact that he couldn't get in the team because, of course, you had.
He used to make a lot of runs.
Yeah,
he used to make a lot of runs.
Yes. What the cup they used to play in, Bobby, was it Dawson Cup?
Yeah,
Dawson.
Yeah. When you open the papers, Sunarine, double this, that, so on. This new selection system, brothers, you all talk to me about it. I've been trying to make sense of it.
I've had some debates with people regarding it. In theory, I have no problem with the selection system. My issue is going to be: do we have the qualified personnel with the experience to fill all the roles from in the territories all the way up just below the head coach who is making the selections? And do we have, how are you going to hold people accountable in this system? And we all know here that has been one of the weakest things in West Indies cricket: transparency and accountability, right? So conceiving this lovely system that you see it throughout sports, we here who live in the United States, it's akin to a franchise. The processes from the scouts and so on bring all the information about prospective draft picks. They look at them, they go through the whole thing, how each one could fit with the team. And on draft day, they got a list of the players, and between the head coach and maybe the general manager, they can come to a consensus. When they come around, we can pick John Jones, right? But because you have a good structure from scouting all the way up in evaluating players, and you're not doing it based on sentiments or anything of the sort, you're basing it on the data and your knowledge of the game and all the demands of the position of the player is playing. Yes, right? That is the thing. This guy comes up with this system, and we don't have the infrastructure in place as far as I'm concerned. That's the challenge, to put that infrastructure in place. Because, Alfred, are you confident that we have the coaches, for example, in Guyana, because we could talk about Guyana because that's what we know most about in this thing, where they are going to give to the scout in Guyana all the proper information about players coming from different parts of the country, right? That he may reach out to in terms of the selection network. You know, are they going to give him the best um, information? One, two. They claim that the person who would be the scout would also be someone who is already in the selection process in the respective territories. Are you confident that we have those things in place? People like that in Guyana? Because I always hear complaints whenever Guyana teams are picked that there is a lot of, we talk about friends and family and favoritism going on.
Alfred?
I I haven't had a chance to really review this new system.
Well, hold on, Alfred, before you talk. Let me just give you the synopsis.
Yeah.
The head coach is the one who will pick the team, right? Below the head coach is somebody called the senior talent.
Something manager.
This is for all levels, or
Huh?
just this?
No,
This for
no,
all levels, or just
all levels. Head coach
okay?
is the only one picking two, right? This senior talent manager would collate all the data from the 6 scouts in each territory. Each territory will have a scout.
Mm-hmm.
This scout would be embedded in the local selection network. So we say Guyana. Based on what this guy is saying, that scout would be somebody who is already a selector in Guyana. He will now be under the pace, he would be hired
That's things
by
cricket.
West Indies Cricket Board, but he was also still sit as a selector in Guyana. And then he would have a network in terms of, the coaches, the franchise coaches, and maybe also when you go to as we in Guyana, we got the 3 counties. You got the coaches from the various counties that he would integrate himself with in getting information. Let's say, for example, like Tyndall, right? Say Barbies come and, hey, we got this boy in Barbies named Tyndall. This boy quick. This boy got XYZ, right? You would have a sheet where you make an objective assessment, everybody looking at the same thing. So if this is how you're gonna find if somebody is wanting. Say you want to assess a batter, for example, you'd say things like, how well does this batter get off a strike? How well does this batter focus on this batter? Of all the various components of batsmanship, you would be evaluating, and you would do it, say, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being lowest, 5 being highest. So now, if somebody come to you, give you the sheet, you watching at the scoreboard, and this guy said this batter is a 5 in getting off strike. But when you look through the guy's score, you see a whole heap of dot balls in this guy's innings. You would say to yourself, no. You obviously did not make, your assessment was not based on objective analysis. Your assessment was based on sentiments, because you know what I mean? So that's the gist of what the system would be. So that's why I ask you, do you feel confident from a Guyana perspective? We have such personnel in place from the ground up to the Guyana selectors, etc.
What it sounds like is a very like a difficult task, and it sounds very complex. And um, I will obviously have to look at it a
Mm-hmm.
bit deeper to be able to come back to you, Mr. Hines, on
Mhm.
my prognosis of what it is. But I'm not sure if it's really from what I had explained to my butcher here, that if it could give a fair analysis of the situation, and it would not be subjective or being objective. So I would have to look at it. And when I
Yeah.
look at it a bit deeper, I will surely, on some other show, I'm
Mhm.
sure to be able to give you my true opinion on this.
If
Dr.
you get a
Adams?
chance, Alfred,
Huh?
Go on YouTube
Uh,
and look, find the last press conference
Press
they had.
conference.
The director of cricket, he put up the chart and he gave
right.
a synopsis of it. You only
Right.
gotta look at that part.
I will
It's
look
probably
at it.
like
I will look at it. I'll look at it and I will do my
yeah,
reading on it before I actually speak on it.
Dr. Adams?
Yeah, I agree with probably everything that Basil said, and it's of course this is like starting a new organization, and it's gonna it's the devil are gonna be in the details,
Yeah.
and the key part of that detail is in any organization, as we all know, is
the
the
person.
competence of the people who are going to be making this decision, and how are these people going to be selected. These
Yes.
are key decisions, especially from those that are coming up with the information that you bring up. And you got it. Let's say you got somebody who's from Bobby's, for example, is a scout, and you know what's going to happen. You know there's still a potential there for that person
Yeah.
to to have some associations with people in Bobby's, and even might even be corrupt in terms of, you know, I mean it's human nature. And then the other thing is I never like it, and we all know I never like, especially in cricket, that one person is picking that team. I prefer it goes to a vote of the, let's say, three, where they can exchange information. And because a lot of times you're in these selection panels, you know, when I was in Ghana, I was there, and you know, you may not see certain things, and then you know you bring your head together. But this is the Bill Parcells model, you know, if
Yeah,
you
yeah. I mean, and Vincent, the thing,
if I'm gonna cook the food I want to buy the
right,
groceries.
right. And the thing about this is that they are saying the strength of this structure is going to be how competent the people in the territories are going to be.
It has to be. It
That is
has
the
to
way.
be.
That's the pillars it's standing on. And I would also add, this is like an earthquake sent through our cricket structure,
You
because
know.
this is something totally
You know what I would like to see, Marcel?
mhm,
Let's say, and when they put this structure together, without to make sure that at least you minimize the biases and what can happen. I would, let's say, and I don't know how far deep in the structure they go, but let's say they've got a scouting Bobbies.
mhm,
I would prefer to have somebody from Essequibo being the scout for Bobbies, and the
mhm.
scout for Essequibo be somebody from Bobbies, because you know it becomes an incestuous. You've got somebody from Bobbies scouting players from Bobbies. I
Mhm.
don't think that's gonna work out. You know, you're too close.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
has
yeah. I think one of the challenges of it too is because the lack of professionalism in our cricket structure from the ground up. That's why I say in a professional structure, you put this in, I don't think it would be a big issue. But because our structure, all you guys know this, we professionalism is one of the last things that's inherent in our cricket structure,
absolutely.
right? And because of that, it's a
You mean that
wonderful,
that
in
that
my
not that not that's regionally?
yes, 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 yes. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
but Alfred, going all the way down to club, because
yes.
when I mean professional, I don't mean in terms of paying, you know. I'm talking about approach. You don't want in our club structure, you know these things, a man get dropped because somebody don't like he or he cuss a guy or you know what I mean? All kinds of weird reasons you drop a guy, not based on evaluating this player in totality and what this player could bring, which you would do in a professional structure, right? If you get a player also who, come out of a environment, a home environment is a tough, that certain edges are rough. We have had a habit of throwing such people one side. And you know what I'm talking about, Alfred. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
one of
yeah.
the most talented guys at DCC was one of those kind of people, right?
Lyndon Joseph.
Exactly. So those that lack of professionalism from the ground up is what we don't have. And now to put this beautiful system in place, to me, there's a lot of coaching up and training up that will have to happen for this to be successful. I like it in concept, but the environment that is being put into is like, I'll use an analogy. You get distilled water, right? And if you pour some kind of pea, like that we say, your posy, you know, we know what posy. You know, you ain't going to the outhouse nighttime, right? And you do whatever you do in the posy. But now when you throw this pure water in the posy, pure water, you get a gunk up thing, it's still gonna be contaminated. And that's the issue I see with this
You know,
pure, beautiful
yeah,
stuff.
without
They don't
reading
want,
the thing,
huh?
My thing on this is that I earlier said that I have to have more competition, more cricket, more whatever. How do you how will you be able to measure this thing if there's not enough cricket? Or remember we also have these challenges with the weather and the this and the that and all kind of things. How do you treat with that? And
With,
if it's a and if these are competitions that the people are playing that is sanctioned by the board so they could see how they evaluate the performance I don't know.
well, I mean,
I'm a bit confused.
you're raising all the quirks and all the things that will have to be, because again,
Mhm.
this thing is going to be dependent on the information coming out of each territory. And if the territory is not able to have the professional structure,
But the
it'll be,
competition, they play cricket.
yeah, you have to play cricket,
You're being
I'm just
evaluated
saying,
on playing cricket, either bowling or batting or what it
yeah,
is. So you gotta play. But if you're playing two T10 match and two T5 match or some match, but it has to be a case where that also has to be a part of the structure.
hmm
The level of cricket you play, how much cricket you play,
exactly. And
and so
that's,
on and so forth. And
Alfred, that's
because
where the competency
yeah,
of the scouts, the people who looking at these players, that's what I keep saying. It is the competency of such people in all the territories that will have to. The one good thing about it, I would say, the silver lining, all these people would be under the employ of the West Indies board. The West Indies board will hire them, so they're not beholden to the regional board, right?
mhm,
So the
mhm.
West Indies board will decide if they are doing their job effectively so they could hire and fire. You see, I have been calling for West Indies board to do something like this in every territory, because we have to take away this friends and family and become more professional, and you have a situation of transparency and accountability, which
I
is the
hear
one.
I hear you on that. Let me make one other point that while the West Indies cricket board will hire or make the appointment, and this region and these persons are coming from the individual region where there's sovereignty,
Mhm.
and twist it or turn it, the each cricket board are shareholders in the overall West Indies cricket board. So the West Indies cricket board is an umbrella body for the various regions where the regions dictate
Mhm.
um, what happens individually for what they want.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure, even though West Indies cricket board will be making that decision to have that independence, um, it will still be influenced in some way by the various territories.
Yeah, and I think one of the things the the current DOC keeps harping about is alignment. There must be an alignment from West Indies board to all the regions, which all of us would agree with, because you go to one territory, they're doing things this way. You go to the next territory, they're doing things this way. We can't do that. They got to be because regardless of what level of cricket you are in each territory, it's still West Indies cricket, because you're still trying to develop players to play for the West Indies regardless.
Gotcha.
Well, we're going to continue to discuss this issue. I think the one thing that makes the most sense for me is that if you're going to give the coach a team with somebody else pick, you
Mhm.
then can't evaluate him,
Correct.
right? Because he didn't pick the team. So that makes sense to me that the
Yes, yes.
coach, if you're going to determine whether the coach is effective or not, he got to be able to say, this is a team I want. So that makes sense to me.
And that was a big team. That was a big theme in their rationale, that now we can hold the coach accountable.
The coach, right?
Right. I mean, and the next thing to Alfred and Vincent and Dr. Hines. Normally, when the team picked in the past, the other lead selector, will also with Desmond Haynes, he would be the one that come to the podium and got to give all the rationalization to the selection of the team. I always didn't like that. I want a coach. I would have liked that put in the first instance that the coach was the lead selector.
In the selection panel.
He, the coach, is the one I want to hear from, because it's he carrying the team wherever they go in. And his job is on the line for the performance of the team. My question, though, to this is this. How are you going to be holding the coach? What timeline are you giving the coach in terms of accountability? As we know here in the United States, we've seen coaches just get hired, and a couple months into the season, the team franchise, wait, I think he made a mistake, and they fire him. And you got to pay the salary for that coach if you sign him for a 3 or 4 year contract. Plus the new coach you bring in, you got to pay. So you pay 2 coaches at the same time. West Indies, do we? These are some of the things that's going to come with this accountability. And funds is always been a challenge for West Indies. So that's an area I would like that question to be asked.
But you see, the thing is, our challenge, our biggest challenge is part of our culture. We do not hold people accountable in the West Indies, period. It's not like in the United States, if you don't perform, you're gone. In the West Indies, it's a totally different culture. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be one of the challenges.
Yes.
That's going to be the challenge.
That's why I use it. That's why I use the phraseology. This system is like an earthquake through the cricket structure of the West Indies, because it's bringing all those elements that all of us here probably been crying for in our cricket structure: professionalism, transparency, accountability through the structure. Yeah. And the one area that's always a challenge in West East cricket is every time we pick a team, there's a whole lot of argument. Me and my mentor here, many times we get in back and forth on social media when they pick a team, and everybody got an eye about the team. Yeah. I heard a guy, I think he's from New Zealand or all.
The West Indies always torn in Carnival. The Carnival. There's a long corner.
A long corner, right? I heard a guy from Australia. He was on, I listened to Radio Pro Mason's show, and he was on the show, and I think a West Indies team must have been picked for the World Cup or something. And he was amused as to the intensity of the discussion about the selection, the lack thereof. And this team was picked like about 2 weeks prior. That this conversation was still continuing. He was like, well, in Australia, you may just have a discussion for a day or so, and it's over.
Because they're playing as one nation.
Not here in the Caribbean. This will go on for a month.
No, because we're a different nation. I want us to go out, though, pondering what the point Dr. Adams raised, and the question of governance culture. Mm-hmm. The system may have its upsides, but the placing of the amount of authority in the hands of the head coach, I think for our governance culture in the Caribbean, one man, single man leadership is bad. So I think Adams has raised the point about culture. Now, professionally, the thing may make sense.
Yes.
But when you put it against this thing that we have struggled with, this one-man culture that we have struggled with in the Caribbean, but the jury's out. I think we're going to continue to discuss it here and see how it works and so forth. What I find interesting here is that Sammy was banished from playing cricket because he challenged
He's challenged the status quo.
Correct.
And now
And
he
Now
becomes
he
status
now he
quo.
in charge.
no, he's in charge. I
No, but
find that most interesting. But
what
we should
what I
go.
what I also want to stick a pin in that, and this is something that is very bothersome. The helm of West Indies cricket at the level of the presidency as well as the helm of the head coach. And now you want the selector man who plot out this thing, some man named Bascom, where
Yes.
he do
Yes.
some director fancy thing.
Mhm.
It's a set of small island people. And these are the big countries like Guyana, Trinidad, and so on. And Barbados, to some extent, who is a big cricketing nation, are left on the periphery. But you get in these other places, make calling the shots. It's a serious thing. And now you're vesting the authority in the head coach, saying that yes, at worst, if you don't do this, you're gonna fire you. But it's not really designed for that. It's more designed out of control rather than designed out of really allowing for
To
transparency and
democratize the system. Yes. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
hold on.
yeah.
They said this structure came out of their cricket high performance committee. The members of this committee are the following:
Let me
Roger
hear.
Harper, Leon Johnson, a guy named Gullion, who is an administrator in Trinidad,
And that.
um, a guy named Lindell Wright, a former cricketer from Jamaica,
Jamaica.
um, Ian Bradshaw from Barbados, right? And the chairman of the committee is Enoch Lewis. Andy Roberts Sir Andy Roberts was supposed to be on that committee.
There's some years ago. This is
No,
an
no, no, no,
old year.
no. This is the
This is
current
A
committee.
recent thing that they put in place.
This is the committee which they clearly stated this brainchild came out of that committee.
Roger is part of that committee, you said?
Roger is part of that committee. You have two Guyanese on that committee. You have a Trinidadian, you got a Bajan, you got Jamaican,
Antiguan.
and you have an Antiguan.
Yeah.
Right? And the DOC obviously would be an official member of that committee.
Vincentian.
And they came up with this brainchild.
Correct. Yeah. They came out of that committee, Alfred. So it's not.
Anyway, guys, it's 9.
Well, we're going. Alfred, before we go, what's the story with Beaton? He got another life? Or he's done?
Nah, I mean,
you aren't hearing anything?
It's the stoning people, man. So you gotta stop them in the
well, he has come back 3, 4, 5 times.
Like, it's difficult.
Let me just say something. Alfred is correct. I was told, you see, the people who passed him and the person who spoke to me, he said he blames the West Indies board. And I agree with him for this reason. Beaton was able to send in his video, right, with him bowling and the arm and so on. So the biomechanical lab, whatever data is sent to them, they evaluate.
Yeah.
It wasn't an independent situation, and then the lab got the footage. It was Beaton. So as soon as he get past and he go back and play, and he get in the heat of the battle, he goes back to his old ways. That's where you want to take the footage from him in actual competition, not running up and bowling in the nets or something like that. So the person told me, he said, that is the problem. The West Indies board is the problem. They should demand, if any video footage that you're going to send to the biomechanics lab, it must be in competition. It can't be. So if Beaton went through his remedial, you're going to video him playing a competitive match, and you send that footage to the lab.
All right, we'll have to end on that note. I want to thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Adams. Thank you, Butch. Thank you, Mr. Mentor, for making your debut. Don should have been with us here to talk up Hetmeyer. Don, I hope you're going to be with us next week. You'll be missing for 2 weeks. and I couldn't make your case for you for your boy Hetmeyer. I don't think Guyana Warriors are playing any matches during this week. I think I look at the thing. I don't think even one
They're
match.
playing next week Saturday.
They're still next week Saturday. They may be
Well,
playing.
it's a long break, man.
Right. It's interesting. So it means that they're going to be playing.
So they're going to
get to Guyana.
Situation with it on the back end. They're going to be playing a lot of.
They're going to be playing a lot of matches. I
Okay.
don't necessarily like that.
No. I don't like that either because there's where fitness can start to come into play.
Exactly. But it's good to see Kimo Paul back bowling and some intensity there from a Guyana standpoint, not necessarily an Amazon Warrior standpoint.
Dr. Heinz Close, did you guys discuss about the signing of Muin Ali?
No, we didn't talk about that. We didn't get to talk about that. Next week we're going to talk about that. But what's happening with what's his name? Shepherd. He's been
I got something else at 9.
All right.
Okay, nice seeing you again, Alfred.
Right.
Yes, my brother.
Yes, Basil.
I think Shepherd picked up some kind of injury. That's why he isn't playing the.
Okay.
Yes, that's he missed the last 2 matches.
All right. So, guys, I see you all next week.
All right.
I see you all next week. So,
all right,
Alfred, next week.
Yes,
it's a permanent game. Unless you have to do your.
I gotta get a check out, Basil. We catch up in the world.
Yeah, man. All right, Alfred. Good.
All right. See you all next week. And thank you all in the audience for staying with us. Spirited discussion. Of course, once it comes to cricket, we have so much to say as a Caribbean people, as Guyanese people. And, we have to keep rallying around the West Indies because, as Rex Netherford would say, Professor Netherford, we are all we have. We are all we have. Thank you all very much. And I'm going to, for you political people, I'll see you all tomorrow. And cricket people, I'll see you all next week, Sunday.
Rude boys gonna get you by degrees. Here comes the West Indies. And when you're facing the generals, nearly every ball is a funeral. And when we batting, brother, go and put your men on the boundary line. And if you give we a liquor, that is merely a hiccup. Look, you win the little battle, you lose the war. It's the same result every time. Everybody sing. Here come the West Indies. Here come the West Indies. Them rude boys gonna get you by degrees. Here come the West Indies. I tell you now, here come the West Indies. Here come the West Indies. Them bad boys gonna bring you to your knees. Here come the West Indies. Special request to the Trinity posse. And what about the Guyana posse? And what about